Hello students, today I want to talk about, this is an old pre-ACT exam. It's form 18A, and just for knowledge that you want to have for later on, every time you see an ACT exam that you can find online or whatever, you'll notice way down here in the bottom there it'll have what it's known as. So if you wanted to go look that up online or something like that, you can, or maybe even put it into YouTube. I bet you could find it there as well. So, and this one you can't because it's a pre-ACT, but a lot of the ACT exams you certainly can. So today, what I thought we could do is work on these first, this first passage. And remember that when we're dealing with English, we're talking about those English standard rules, whatever they might be. English standard rules, that is to say, just grammar rules. Okay, and please forgive my penmanship. It's awful because I'm writing upright on this thing. But anyway, so then you're also dealing with production of writing questions, POW, production of writing, which is to say, how well does the author, move from one thought to the next, and did he say the right words there? And then, of course, there's knowledge of language, or what they call KLA, knowledge of language questions. Let's just get through here and see if we can find some things that we can apply to just about every ACT English test, though. And that's what today's lesson is really all about, is coming through here and seeing what they continuously are getting at on ACT English. And by all means, stop the video at any time and answer these yourself. And then as I'm going through here, I will give you the explanation of why things are the way they are. Okay, so here we go. The best bread in town. If you've eaten pre-sliced plastic wrapped supermarket bread before, you have a treat in store for you. More easily than you might think, you can pull a fragrant loaf of homemade bread from your oven and enjoy it. So I read that piece right there, and now I'm going to go over and answer these questions. Notice I don't start here first. I don't start there first and then go back over this way. I don't do that. And rather, I read first, and then I come over and see what they're wanting me to do. Go to number one. Which choice best helps establish the point that supermarket bread is lacking something that homemade bread can provide? If you've ever eaten pre-sliced plastic wrapped supermarket bread before now, you have a treat in store for you. Supermarket bread is not homemade bread, so we want something that's lacking, pre-sliced, best-selling, commercially advertised, bland, mass-produced. So lacking gives me the idea that they're wanting me to go after something that's negative, and the one here that stands out as negative to me is bland and mass-produced. So that's what that looks like to me. And then we go to the next one. More easily than you might think, you can pull a fragrant loaf of homemade bread from your oven and enjoy it. So here we can see an independent clause working with a dependent clause. And this is the way they're going to work regarding a lot of their comma questions. Again, they're going to, if you don't have a good idea of how the comma works, you're really going to struggle on ACT English. So that's one of the things that I would go in and really try to understand is what are they wanting you to do on ACT English with it when it comes to the comma. And the biggest one that I see time and time again is working with a dependent clause needs to have a comma between it and an independent clause. So more easily than you might think is the independent clause, or that's the dependent clause. This is depending. It needs help. Otherwise, it's going to be a big, huge sentence fragment. You can pull here's the sentence. You can pull a fragrant loaf of homemade bread from your oven and enjoy it. Okay, so there is the big sentence. You can pull a loaf of bread from your oven. Just keep breaking it down until you find subject verb. The subject is you, and the verb is you can pull. You can pull, and then it's got all the other stuff that you can do with that. So that's what you're wanting to do. Is you're wanting to now find the one that separates this dependent clause from this independent clause. If I can spell it, independent clause. And so, of course, the one that does that the best is G. There it is. So again, once you see the question, once you see the answer, now go back and put that in and see if that doesn't make sense for you. And of course, it certainly should. But you're going to see this repetitively over and over and over. This style of comma question come up again and again. More to the point, you'll also see them not underline it, which is to say they give you great examples of where a good comma should go. Again, let's look at the first sentence up here. Notice how it's got a comma there. Notice how it's got the comma there, but it's not underlined. So now you can see, oh, well, if it's not underlined, that means it's perfect. So it's a good example for you to kind of look at. If you've ever eaten pre-sliced, comma, plastic wrapped supermarket bread before now, comma, you have a treat in store for you. If you've ever eaten, so again, if I were to stop here, there, notice how this whole thing is a dependent clause. It's depending on something. And it's depending on the independent clause, the subject verbs part. You have a treat in store for you, period. That could stand on its own as a sentence. And it's being separated by that comma. So keep that in mind, because that's what you're going to see a lot of when it comes to ACT comma rules. Okay, enough of that. Let's go to number 3. The writer is considering adding the following clause at the end of the preceding sentence. Again, you need to know what that word means. Preceding. Preceding means before. So we're looking at while it's still warm. We're looking at this business. While it's still warm, we're looking at this thing. And where would you put it? Well, they're saying, can you go ahead and put that there? Can you put it here before that sentence? And should the writer make this addition here? Well, I think you probably need to go back and research the actual title. When you look at the best bread in town, that leads you to these big overarching questions and helps you answer them better. Let's take a look at that. Okay, the writer is considering adding, while it is still warm, to this essay called The Best Bread in Town. Should the writer make that here? I think they should. Without even reading anything yes or no, I think they should, because the best bread in town would be warm. It would be inviting. It would be something along with a positive, annotation, connotation, however you want to say that. Should the writer make this? Yes, because it appeals to the reader's senses and supports the point that the homemade bread is a treat, which is what we've already been kind of reading. So immediately I start to kind of go, this probably is it. And then that means with that, I don't really need to read all this no business. So it's just, once I start to understand these yeses and no questions and just get to that first piece, should they do this? Yes or no? And the good answer is yes. That means I don't have to read a bunch of other stuff, which hopefully a lot of kids wouldn't want to do. I don't want to read any more than I have to. And then if I get in here and I go, okay, well, could it be B? Yes, because it serves as an important transition to the next paragraph. Let's read the next paragraph real quick. Because white bread is easier to make, it is a good one to begin with. You'll need water, package of yeast, salt, oil, sugar, blah, blah, blah. Okay, warm bread, and then they start to get into how it's made. That really doesn't work. So the best idea here to me is A. Sometimes these big wine, look at this, these big questions like this, sometimes they're best answered when you're done with the whole thing. Like put a star next to that and come back to it in the future if you want to. That's another way to handle those. Okay, let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next page. And again, if you want to pause me at any time and see if you can answer these without any help and then see what your answers might be, you're more than welcome to do so. Because white bread is easier to make, it is a good one to begin with. You'll need water, a package of baker's yeast, salt, sugar, oil, and about 4 cups of white flour. In an organized manner, place everything you need on a counter large enough for you to work comfortably. Again, notice all these commas right in here. Notice all these commas. They are dealing with you and your list. And then here I see another comma, and again, in an organized manner is not a great sentence. Place everything you need on a counter large enough for you to work comfortably. That's a good sentence. Place everything. No, okay, this is just kind of more information that helps this sentence. Again, Dependent clause, needing help with that helps support from the independent clause or the sentence. There's your comma. Again, that's cool. All right, let's go in here and answer some questions. Number 4, given that all the choices are true, which one best supports the point that a novice baker should probably make white bread first? Well, they've already told you that because it's the easiest one to make. It's more appealing than other kinds, the most popular bread of sandwiches, the kind sold most often. One of the things that would help you with this too is ACT is obsessed with less is more. In other words, they feel like at ACT that good writing and good English skills are being demonstrated, if you will, when you can really be and get right to the point. So immediately, Mr. Quatanopoulos, I will never really look at like G and H. Why? Because they have way too many words than what you've already got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess it's 5. I don't like G. It's just immediately it looks to be a little bit more wordy. H is way more wordy. But then again, when I come up here and go, okay, it supports what a novice baker should probably make the bread first. Again, more appealing. How do we know it's more appealing? Most popular bread for sandwiches. Again, that doesn't really help me with being a novice, being a beginning baker. And again, that H is really long-winded. 6 just appears long-winded to me. So immediately, to me, it comes down between J and leave it alone. And I'm going to go with leave it alone because leave it alone deals with being a novice baker. It's a good one to begin with because it's easier to make. That makes the most sense. So again, there you go. No change. Pour 1.5 cups of lukewarm water into a large bowl. Pour 1.5 cups of lukewarm water into a large bowl. Again, here comes my less is more moment. I don't need that comma. Which one of these deals with something? Oh yeah, there it is. There it is. And then they're also getting into, they're trying to see if you understand cups, ownership, apostrophe, and all that kind of stuff. But it's really getting into a comma question. It's going to be one of these. Then some of you pour 1.5 cups of lukewarm. Again, you can see how maybe you can get tangled up in, does that own something or not, or should the comma be there? Nope, that's one good long good sentence. That's one good long independent clause. And then finally, sprinkle the baker's yeast over the surface of the water. There's a good example of what a semicolon does, just in case you don't know what a semicolon does. Okay. Sprinkle the baker's yeast over the surface of the water, then add a tablespoon of sugar. In 5 minutes, comma, the yeast will begin to bubble. As soon as it does, comma, add a pinch of salt and a tablespoon of oil. Here they're giving you a colon to deal with. I don't think you need that colon there as much as you just need the comma. As soon as it does, comma, add a pinch of salt. When do I add a pinch of salt? See, that's a good sentence. Add a pinch of salt and tablespoon of oil. Well, when do I do that? As soon as it begins to bubble. So there you go. It's just H. This is a good comma question. And notice how you got to keep reading it around there. And it would be awesome if you understood when and where to use colons and semicolons. Again, yeah. So there's more things to kind of start to think about when it comes to ACT English. Okay, let's keep going. Let's look at 7, 8, 9. Now that the dough is no longer sticky and holds together in a ball, so it is ready to be kneaded. Again, that doesn't really rhyme with what's going on with the other ways of this lists and directions that they keep giving me. It's almost like they're giving me little bit of a, if you can kind of keep up with the rhythm, it's almost like a da-da-da, comma, da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da, comma, da-da-da-da-da. Here, I don't see that. Now that the dough is no longer sticky and holds together in a ball, comma, it is ready to be kneaded. There's your sentence. It is ready to be kneaded. So there should be a comma after ball. Boom, right there. Okay. 8 is a little bit gross to look at, and you start to get a little bit, wow, what do I do with this thing? Press down with the heel of one hand and then give the dough a quick half turn with the other. Let's see what else we got over here. The dough is given a circular movement to cause a quick half turn. Allow the dough to change its position by half. Rotate the dough around. And again, these are too long. Again, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 words. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, that's out. The dough is given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that one's out. So it's between H and leave it alone. Give the dough a quick half turn. Then allow the dough to change its position by half. Again, you're asking almost like for the dough to do something on its own. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So this is no change. There you go. That's cool. And then with the other, repeat this motion until press down with the heel of one hand and then give the dough a quick half turn with the other. And then give the dough with the other. Press down. See, that's a good sentence. Separated by another good sentence. And then it's done. Repeat this motion. There you go. D. Okay. And then let's go to the next one. Almost about done with this thing. Next, find a warm, draft-free place to put a dough, or put the dough, since draping a towel over the bowl, period. That makes no sense. I don't know what's going on there. So this word since needs to get out of there, and we need to fix it with something. And again, next, find a warm, comma, draft-free place to put the dough. Drape a towel over the bowl. So there's two sentences coming together. There's two independent clauses coming together. They need a comma that separates them and brings them together because you're doing two things. You're finding a place to put the dough, and then you're going to drape a towel over the bowl. So there you go. That should be H. And then after about an hour, the dough will have risen to twice its original size. So again, I see this on every ACT English test I've ever seen, which is a bunch. And it's this, it's versus it's with an apostrophe. So basically, it is equals the apostrophe. Ownership of its does not. And I know that sounds crazy because if I were to write Mike's pen is hard to write with, Mike owns a pen. So there's Mike's pen. It gets the apostrophe, but not when you're talking about it. It's does not, because it is what gets the apostrophe in English rules. Again, they just want to test you on that, and it's on every test. So again, on this one, we would leave it alone, and we would say this is no change right there. 12, I'm going to come back to that big long rascal. Look at that thing. It's too much. Let's come back to that. Let's put a star next to 12, and we'll come back to that. Okay, put the dough to the left out of the air, shape it into a loaf, and set it in a greased bread pan to rise a second time. Preheat the oven 350 degrees until it's hot. Preheat the oven to 350 degrees. Well, there you go. Isn't 350 degrees hot? So you don't need to say until it's hot. So again, this is, again, one of those less is more questions. And so the best answer here is the one that says the least. Degrees. Period. Done. And when the bread has matched itself in size again, Well, you and I can probably guess that matched itself means to double in size. Matched itself is just an awkward way of saying this thing, because this person's been using standard English and kind of a standard rhetoric along the lines of how to do something, how to change a tire, how to change your shoes, how to tie a tie. In this case, it's how to bake bread. And then they come in with this almost like British moment. So again, it's doubled in size. Doubled in size. And again, notice 3 words, 1, 2, 3, being replaced by 2. So again, less is more. And then finally, we got this last one, 15. The essay was accepted for publication in a cooking magazine, and the provision that the writer indicate how long the bread making process takes. The writer does so with the following sentence: you'll need about 3 hours to make the bread, although most of the time you can relax nearby. In order to be most useful in the readers, of the cooking magazine, the sentence should probably be placed where? So you need to put this time moment where it most fits in this essay, before the first sentence of paragraph 1. Before the first sentence of paragraph 1, which would be there. I don't know if that's going to be a great place to put it. After the first sentence of paragraph 2. Okay, here's paragraph 2. Where is paragraph 2? There it is. They're numbered. There's 1. There's 2. And it says, after the first sentence of paragraph 2. Because white bread is easier to make, it is a good one to begin with. And here it says you'll need water, a package of, tells you what you need, but then this one says you'll need about 3 hours to make the bread. So that's probably a pretty good place to put it. So right now, B stands out as the kind of the good answer. Excuse me. C, before the first sentence of paragraph 3. Let's go there. Pour 1.5 cups of lukewarm water into a large bowl. Here they're kind of telling you what to do once you've got your ingredients kind of squared away. So that would be interrupting the ingredients piece. And then finally, after the last sentence of paragraph 4, then put the dough in a large greased bowl. You'll need about 3 hours to make the bread. That's not a bad spot too. The one that I like best though is B. I like that the best. After the first sentence of paragraph 2. Let's go back there and figure out why that is. You'll need water and a package of baker's yeast. You'll need about 3 hours to make the bread. So it kind of keeps up with this whole thing of you'll need. It keeps up with what we're going to need to do. Okay, that's good enough on that. And then we didn't do anything with 12. Let's go back to 12. 12 is a long-winded thing. The writer is considering adding the following sentence. At this point in the essay, different types of bread can be made by substituting whole wheat, rye, or buckwheat flour by using honey or molasses in place of sugar. Should the writer make this addition? The writer is considering adding the following sentence. Different types of bread can be made. I don't think so, because really she's describing everything that's going on, or this person's describing everything that's going on to make. Again, I go back to our title. Our title is The Best Bread in Town. And here we're getting into a bunch of weirdo stuff about all the different kinds of bread you can make. And the best one to work with is, right now is this homemade bread that she talks about, because bread is easier to make. Yeah, so I think that's a lot of wasted information. So immediately I'm busting out with, it's not yes. So it's down to these last 2. No, because inserting this information at this point blurs the focus. I like that, because the experienced baker already knows. We don't need to know anything about experienced bakers. We don't need to know anything about, we're talking about writing, not baking. So losing the focus of the essay is what we're really worried about. So best answer there would be H. Okay, so did you learn some things that we could do in the future when it comes to, and I'll use this area to write. Did you learn some things that you're going to see over and over again? Number one, how to deal with the comma. That's pretty big. Dealing with semicolons and colons. Less is more. These are just some of the ideas. It's versus its with the apostrophe. Okay. These are some of the things that I would probably start working on. I've also got a really good little Microsoft Word document that's got a list of really good YouTube videos of all the different kinds of grammar rules that you'll find on an ACT English test. I'll send that to you too. I hope this helps getting you started. Good luck as you continue to work on your ACT test that I gave you guys. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.